بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. قال الإمام البخاري رحمه الله حدثنا عياش بن الوليد قال حدثنا عبد الأعلى قال حدثنا محمد بن إسحاق. Muhammad ibn Ishaq, he is Sahib al-Maghazi. Maghazi is the books where he writes about the Ghazawat, the battles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad ibn Ishaq is from the Mudallisin, hadith number 33. Alright, Muhammad ibn Ishaq is a Mudallis. We spoke about the Mudallisin before. What does that mean? A Mudallis, what is that?
I did write the note. He tries to change the chain.
He doesn't change the chain. Like, he narrates, like for example, let's say that he heard the hadith from somebody who's not authentic, and then but the person who he narrates the hadith from is thiqa, his hadith is accepted. So what does he do? He knocks out that person who's not authentic and narrates directly from his shaykh by using an or an. So he'll say like you see, حدثنا محمد بن إسحاق عن يزيد ibn Abdullah ibn Qusayd. So because he's from the Mudallisin, we don't accept the hadith if he says an or if he says what? An. If he's known to be from the Mudallisin and he's known to do this, then what do we only accept the hadith from him if he was? If he says like حدثنا حدثني أخبرني, he has to, do tasrih bis sama', like he actually, he has to use any of the wordings to show that he actually heard the hadith from this person. And there's different levels of the Mudallisin. So when we talked about Al-Hasan al-Basri, we said he's from the Mudallisin, but he's from the Mudallisin that like his tadlis is not it doesn't harm the hadith so much. The hadith that we narrated from Al-Hasan al-Basri, who did he narrate from? We said he only narrated one hadith, which is the hadith al-Aqiqah. He narrated from Samura. Alright, so the Hasan and Samura. Alright, but al-Hasan, and even like that issue, there's ikhtilaf in that. And mashallah, right after we took that lesson and we spoke about that hadith, guess what happened? No. Well, the hadith al-Aqiqah is in Bulugh al-Maram. But then right after we spoke about that hadith and we spoke about the issue of Al-Hasan al-Basri and Samura, I think it was maybe the next day, Sheikh Yahya was asked about it and he spoke about it in depth. And then he spoke about it for two different lessons, and he even brought a hadith from the Musnad of Imam Ahmed to show that even Hasan al-Basri, he narrated another hadith that's authentic on Samura. So the shahid is even that, and because he did hear a hadith from Samura, that's thabit. So they say that he only heard one hadith, which is the hadith al-Aqiqah, but he did actually hear that hadith. So because he heard that one hadith from him, what? Well, there's ihtimal, there's like a possibility that he heard more. Who are we to say that he only heard that one hadith from him? Because we know that he listened, he took hadith from him. But in this case, Muhammad ibn Ishaq, this chain of narration is going to be da'if, because here you got Muhammad ibn Ishaq and Yazid ibn Abdullah ibn Qusayd. And because he's from the Mudallisin and he did not clarify whether or not he heard it from Yazid until you find another chain of narration showing that he did. Now I'm saying the chain of narration is da'if, right? I'm not saying that the hadith is da'if. Why? Because the actual hadith itself is in Bukhari and Muslim with another chain of narration. But this chain of narration, But the actual hadith itself is muttafaqun alayh. It's in the Sahihain. Alright, so he said, حدثنا محمد بن إسحاق عن يزيد بن عبد الله بن قصيط عن محمد بن شرحبيل أخي بني عبد الدار عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول ما تكلم مولود من الناس في المهد إلا عيسى بن مريم وصاحب جريج. So he said that no child ever spoke in the cradle as being what? Still in the period of breastfeeding. Alright, except for two. He said Isa ibn Maryam. And when did Isa ibn Maryam speak? Alright, okay, what was the issue about?
Oh, when the people, they were accusing Maryam, like, how could you, like, sleep with another man? And then she pointed at Isa alayhi salam.
فأشارت إليه.
And then Isa alayhi salam said, إني عبد الله أتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا وجعلني مباركا to the end.
Exactly, yes. Alright. He said Isa ibn Maryam was Sahib al-Jurayj, and Sahib al-Jurayj is going to come in this hadith. Alright. قيل يا نبي الله وما صاحب الجريج, and they asked him, they said, who is this the companion of Jurayj? قال فإن جريجا كان رجلا راهبا في صومعة له وكان راعي بقرا يأوي إلى أسفل الصومعة وكانت امرأة من أهل القرية تختلف إلى الراعي فأتت أمه يوما فقالت يا جريج ويصلي فقال في نفسه وهو يصلي أمي وصلاتي فرأى أن يوتر صلاته ثم صرخت به الثانية فقال في نفسه أمي وصلاتي فرأى أن يوتر صلاته ثم صرخت به الثالثة فقال أمي وصلاتي فرأى أن يوتر صلاته فلما لم يجبها قال لا أماتك الله يا جريج حتى تنظر في وجه المومسات ثم انصرفت. So here, alright, he says that Sahib Jurayj, he was a rahib. And what is a rahib? Yeah, he's just known for worshiping. He's not a person of knowledge. And how do we know that he's not a person of knowledge?
When he said, Salati.
Because there is no Rahbaniyah in Islam.
But how do we know that he's not a person of knowledge? What's the hadith that we took before?
Oh, the man who killed a bunch of people?
Yeah, كان the hadith of Abi Sa'id al-Khudri رضي الله عنه, and what he said, كان في من كان قبلكم رجل قتل 99 نفسا فسأل عن أعلم أهل الأرض فدل على راهب فدل على إيش؟ على راهب. So they sent him to a monk. فقال إنه قتل 99 نفسا فهل له من توبة فقال لا. So he spoke with what? He spoke without knowledge, and then he got killed. He became the 100th person. And then after that he said فسأل عن أعلم أهل الأرض فدل على إيش؟ رجل عالم. Then they sent him to a person with knowledge. And then he asked him about Tawbah, and then he got the answer that he was looking for. So yeah, the Rahib is known for worship. It's not known for like teaching and knowledge. So yeah, just a monk that sits off. They don't get married, and they just stay in their little
Cave.
their temple thing or whatever. Yeah. So he said, "Fi sawma'atin lahu." The sawma'a is what? Sawma'a is there's ikhtilaf about the whole issue, and if you go back to like Ibn Qutaybah, he mentioned that the kana'is are actually for the Yahud and the Sawma'a are for the Christians. Alright. That the kanisa is actually for what? This is a statement of Ibn Qutaybah, but they can be used interchangeably. Generally nowadays you see the people that use the kanisa and kana'is for the Christians. But Ibn Qutaybah said no, he said the kanisa is for the Yahud and the Sawma'a is for the Christians. Alright, the Sawma'a is actually for the monks, when they're like monastery where they stay and they don't go. So he had this place where he just stayed in. This is his little area of worship. راهبا في صومعة له وكان راعيا. And so there was a shepherd, a guy that used to herd cattle, and he used to hang out close to the lower part of the Sawma'a, of the monastery of Jurayj. وكانت امرأة من أهل القرية, and there was another woman from the people of the village. She used to go and do her, she was a prostitute in the other hadith. And this narration, of course, like I said, this is different than what you know from the Bukhari and Muslim. So he said that there was a woman from the village. She used to go and she used to fornicate with this cow herder guy. All right, cowboy, I guess you can call him, huh? Cowboy. All right. أهل القرية تختلف إلى رأي فأتت أمه. So one day his mother came to him and she said, Ya Jurayj, and she started calling him, Ya Jurayj. وهو يصلي, and he's at that time he's praying. فقال في نفسي وهو يصلي. Alright, أمي وصلاتي. So he's like, أمي وصلاتي, like which one do I choose? فرأى أن يطير صلاته. So he saw that it was better for him to continue to put the priority for his salat over his mother. So he continued praying. And then the next day she came screaming again. فقال يا جريج, right? فقال في نفسه أمي وصلاتي. So then he said, oh, my mother or my prayer, what do I do? And then again he saw that it was better to prioritize his prayer over his mother. And so he continued praying. And she came and she started yelling at him on the third day. Ya Jurayj, right? فقال أمي وصلاتي. It's the same thing. What did I do? My mother or my prayer? So he continued on in his prayer just like the previous 2 days. And he didn't answer her. قالت لا أماتك الله. Now she's making dua against Jurayj. And this is the reason why, Allahu A'lam, is the reason why he brought this narration, because of the bab da'wat al-walidain. Alright, and there's so the way that this dua came in the book, where she made the dua on him, this is more than likely the reason why he brought this narration. I mean, Allah knows best. So she said, may Allah not cause you to die, Ya Jurayj, O Jurayj, until you look into the face of prostitutes. ثُمَّ انصَرَفَتْ, and then she left. The mumisat is al-baghaya, alright, which are it's the prostitutes. Al-baghaya, yeah. البغية وما كانت أمك إيش بغية, that's a prostitute. فأوتي الملك بتلك المرأة. And then here it mentions a king. In the other narrations there's no mention of a king. There's no mention. And in fact the other narrations it mentions that the woman, she did this as a challenge, because they were talking about the worship of Jurayj and she overheard it. And she was a prostitute, and she said, I'll get him. So she went to him and she tried to convince him to, do what the cowboy was doing. And then he refused. So when he refused, she saw the other guy outside, the herder, the cow herder guy, and then she slept with him. And then she ended up, she got pregnant. And then when she had the baby, she said, this baby's from Jurayj. So this caused the people to get angry. So this is the story in the Sahihain. But here for Uti al-Malik, so here it mentions the king, Bitilka al-Mar'a, and she, like the one of the kings, he brought this woman, and she had already given birth. And he said, from who? From who is this baby? Qalat min Jurayj. She said it's from Jurayj. Qala asahib al-Sama'a, the guy from the Sama'a, the guy in the monastery. قالت نعم. She said yes. قال اهدموا صومعته. And he said, destroy his صومعة. وأتوني به, and bring him to me. فضربوا صومعته بالفؤوس. And in the other narration they burn it down. But here they said that they beat his monastery, they destroyed it with axes. بالفؤوس. And the فؤوس is the jama' of what? Fas, axe. Hatta waqat, until it collapsed. They hit it with axes until they completely collapsed the building. فجعلوا يده إلى عنقه بحبل, and then they tied his hands to his neck with a rope. They tied him up, right? ثم انطلق به فمر به على المومسات. And then they grabbed him and they basically pulled him out. And as they pulled him out, he was going by what? A whole line of prostitutes. They were pulling him out. So he ended up looking into the face of the prostitutes, which is the dua of his mother, right? فَرَآهُنَّ فَتَبَسَّمَ. So he saw them and then he smiled. Because he what? He remembered the dua. He knew what was going on. وَهُنَّ يَنْظُرُنَ إِلَيْهِ بِالنَّاسِ. And they're just, and these women are just looking at him, you know, amongst the people. فَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ. So the king said, مَا تَزْعُمُ هَذِي. So he said, what is this woman claiming? قَالَ مَا تَزْعُمُ. He said, what is the claim? قَالَ تَزْعُمُ أَنَّ وَلَدَهَا مِنْكِ. She claims that her son is from you. قَالَ أَنْتِ تَزْعُمِينَ. He said, you know, he's speaking to the woman. She said, you claim this? قَالَتْ نَعَمْ. So she said, yes. قَالَ أَيْنَ هَذَا الصَّغِيرُ. Where is the baby? قَالُوا هُوَ ذَا فِي حِجْرِهَا. And he said, you know, he was the baby. He said, it's the baby in her lap. فَأَقْبَلَ عَلَيْهِ. So he went to him. فَقَالَ مَنْ أَبُوكَ. He said, who is your father? قَالَ رَاعِي الْبَقَرِ. The herder of the cows. And of course this is different from the narration in Bukhari and Muslim, because what did he do in the narration in Bukhari and Muslim? And he طَعَنَهُ فِي بَطَنِهِ. And then he said, who is your, you know, so he like poked him in his stomach. He said, who is your father? You know, and then he answered. Alright, so he said, قَالَ رَاعِي الْبَقَرِ. قَالَ الْمَلَكُ أَنَجْعَلُ صَمْعَتَكَ مِنْ ذَهَبٍ. So then the king told him, out of you know, because now he's like sorry, because now he realized that the woman was lying, and they've already destroyed his monastery, right? So they said, should we not make your monastery, should we not replace it and build it out of gold? قَالَ لَا. He said, no. قَالَ مِنْ فِضَّةٍ. And then what about silver? Should we make it out of silver? قَالَ لَا. He said, no. قَالَ فَمَا نَجْعَلُهَا. So how should we make it? What should we make it out of? قَالَ رُدَّهَا كَمَا كَانَتْ. Or, you know, return it just as it was. قَالَ فَمَا الَّذِي تَبَسَّمْتَ. He said, so what caused you to smile? قَالَ أَمْرًا عَرَفْتَهُ أَدْرَكَتْنِي دَعْوَةَ أُمِّي ثُمَّ أَخْبَرَهُمْ. He said there was an issue that I knew, that the dua of my mother, it caught up to me. And then he informed them of what happened, what the dua was. And like I said, this whole issue about the dua and the dua of the mother is probably more than likely the reason why Bukhari chose to use this narration in the book under this chapter heading. Because none of this is in, the dua of the mother is there, but it didn't come with that, you know, he didn't mention the whole فَدَعَا عَلَيْهِ. But he said, you know, لَا تَبِيتُ حَتَّى يَنْظُرُ فِي وُجُوهِ الْمُومِسَاتِ. That's in Bukhari and Muslim. But then this whole issue about, you know, ثُمَّ تَبَسَّمْ and all this, no, this is not in the other narrations. So that's more than likely why he brought this narration. And Allah knows best. Huh? It's in Riyadh al-Salihin. It's in Bukhari and Muslim, and you can also find it. You see it a lot in Riyadh al-Salihin. So. Huh?
Is it from One Path Network?
Huh?
You don't want to get straight.
Are there any questions over here? Because Mujahid just left.
On my phone.
Mujahid just left us and doesn't worry about.
تلفوني بالسيارة.
Huh?
Tell it to my phone's in the car.
You gotta watch because he doesn't have his phone today.
But he gave me his phone.
Huh? There's no questions. What? Ish? He said now he's looking. He's talking about I'm looking. But now he said now I'm looking.
Someone just put an. Just literally an. I have a off-topic questions a lot right now.
What's the question?
Allah Surah Al-Ma'idah. Allah said, إِنَّ إنا أنزلنا التوراة فيها هدى ونور يحكم بها النبيون الذين أسلموا. Is that dalil that other Anbiya ruled by the Torah?
That's what a Nabi does.
No, because I thought so the Torah wasn't just
No, Musa alayhi salam came with the Torah, and there's other prophets that came after Musa that continued their rule with the Torah. Because that's what the prophet does. The prophet, he doesn't come with the new Sharia, just a Nabi. He's doing the tabligh of the Rasul that came before him, on the book that came before him. The messenger is the one that comes with a new Risala. So the Prophet Muhammad, so every Rasul is a Nabi, but not every Nabi is a Rasul. So, you know, Musa, Isa, Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ibrahim, they're all Rasul, you know, because they came with a new Sharia, but they were building on what went before, so that makes them what? That makes them prophets, because they're continuing on the dawah of all the Anbiya from before. Which is the dawah to Tawheed. It's a very interesting thing, man, that he said in this book, Fath al-Majid, which is actually not, it wasn't.
No, because I just thought it was, I don't know, other Anbiya ruled by specifically a Torah.
What? See, this is Fath al-Majid. So this is written by Shaykh Abdul Rahman ibn Hassan ibn Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. This is the grandson of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. So he's quoting from Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah in this book. This is where I told you, I said, do you have a pen? And you're like, no.
I have it right now.
Huh?
I have it right now.
I don't need it now. Now I remember where it's at. But it's a very interesting thing that we're going to go off topic for a minute so we can get the blue one wrong. But he said this, he said, فَإِنَّهُ إِذَا قَالَهَا. Now he's talking about what?
La ilaha illallah.
La ilaha illallah. He said, فَإِنَّهُ قَالَهَا بِإِخْلَاصٍ وَيَقِينٍ تام لم يكن في هذه الحال مصرا على ذنب أصلا. Because he's talking about how the person, if he says La ilaha illallah, then what? And obviously he's going to go to Jannah, and it's also it becomes a cause for his sins to become forgiven. And he's saying, and how is the person also going to go to Jannah? Because he said if he says it with ikhlas, if he says it with sincerity, and wa yaqeen, tam, and he says it with complete certainty. So this is not just a person who's what? Just saying it, just to say it. This is a person who's saying it with knowledge of it, with sincerity, with certainty. And he said, لَمْ يَكُنْ فِي هَذِهِ الْحَالِ مُصِرًّا عَلَى ذَنْبٍ أَصْلًا. He would never be one of the people who continues doing sins in the first place, if he truly said it. See, because the majority of the people, they don't say La ilaha illallah with this, fulfilling the conditions of La ilaha illallah. So what happens is you see them, that they'll come into Islam, and then what? A lot of that behavior continues. Still listening to music, still talking to girls, still probably smoking weed, still doing a lot of the same behavior that he was doing before he entered into Islam. A lot of that behavior still continues. It might stop for a while, but then he what? Slides right back into that lifestyle again. Because he starts testing the waters and nobody says anything. Nobody tells him that this is haram. Nobody takes him and makes inkar on him, so he just continues to test the waters even more until he's back in the lifestyle that he lived before. But his name is now Ahmed or Saleh or Muhammad or Zayd or whatever. He's changed his name, but that's it. But he hasn't changed the state of his heart. So he said, فَإِنَّ كَمَالَ إِخْلَاصِهِ وَيَقِينِهِ يُوجِبْ أَن يَكُونَ اللَّهُ أَحَبَّ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. So he said, for verily, the completion of his sincerity and his certainty, alright, the completion of his sincerity, don't worry about the questions right now. The completions of his sincerity and his certainty, يُوجِبْ أَن يَكُونَ اللَّهُ أَحَبَّ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. This was it makes it obligatory that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes what? More beloved to him than anything. So that means that he's not going to put the obedience of anybody over the obedience of Allah. So all that stuff ceases, right? He said, فَإِذًا لَا يَبْقَى فِي قَلْبِهِ إِرَادَةٌ لِمَا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ. And he said, for this reason, the love for, he said, there won't remain in his heart any love for anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made haram. That's powerful. That's when I read that, I was like, whoa. So I got to put this book down for a second, right? Because if we've truly, and we always talk about this, that the person sins, and we talked about the tariq al-hijratain, and we said what? The most important hijrah that a person has to make is the hijrah away from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the obedience of Allah. Before you can make the hijrah away from the bilad al-kufar, because the Sahaba, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba made that hijrah first. Alright, even though they were living amongst the mushrikeen and they were living amongst, look what they used to do. Look in the society that they lived in. They're drinking, they're fornicating,
Going around the Kaaba naked.
they're going around the Kaaba naked, they're doing all this type of fawahish, but they stopped it when they came into Islam. And they stopped, they ceased, there was no, and they didn't justify it. And the trueness of their faith and their real understanding of La ilaha illallah, and when that hit the heart, they hated and they despised everything. Just like what the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, he said what? About the people who truly, يذوق حلاوة الإيمان. What? He said, أن يكون الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما وأن يحب المرء لا يحبه إلا لله وأن يكره أن يعود في الكفر كما يكره أن يقذف في النار. He said, so the three things where the person truly tastes the sweetness of Iman, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger are more beloved to Him than anybody on this earth. Anybody. So that means that He places their obedience over the obedience of everybody. Their love over the obedience of everybody. The fear for Allah over the fear of what? Anything and anybody. You understand? So, so he's truly worshiping Allah. And the second thing he said, and that he loves a person only for the sake of Allah. La yuhibbuhu illa lillah. Because all his relationships are based on deen. It's based on deen. It's not based on anything personal. It's not based on the masalih, the dunyawiyah, like any type of person, like dunya benefits. Alright, and then the third thing he said, what? That the person hates to return to kufr. Just like he hates to be thrown into the fire. So that's because his hatred for that sin, the hatred for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the dhulamat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him out of, and He brought him into the light, so he would hate to go back to that darkness. And that darkness is the darkness of shirk, the darkness of dhunub, with ma'asiyah, disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what he's talking about here. So he said, فَإِذَنْ لَا يَبْقَى فِي قَلْبِهِ إِرَادَةٌ لِمَا حَرَّمَ اللَّهِ. Wallahi, if you just memorize that statement of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, wallahi is enough. That nothing will remain in his heart. No love for anything that Allah has made haram will remain in his heart. That's strong, right? وَلَا كَرَاهَةٌ لِمَا أَمَرَ اللَّهِ. And no hatred, or he will not dislike anything of the commands of Allah. So his love in the heart is for what? For Allah and His Messenger. And he loves to carry out the commands of Allah. And he hates sin. And he hates oppression. And he tries everything to stay away from it. Alright, وَهَذَا هُوَ الَّذِي يَحْرَمْ عَلَى النَّارِ. And he's the one that will not go to he's the one where the fire is haram for him. Like he will, that he won't go to the fire. Not the person who says it with his tongue, but then disobeys Allah here, disobeys Allah there, and you tell him, Ya akhi, this is sunnah. Oh, it's just sunnah, and like he doesn't care. No. This person is the opposite. He's deserving of the fire. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives him, Allah forgives him. That's between him and Allah. But it's not the person that entered into Islam wholeheartedly, So he said, when كانت له ذنوب قبل ذلك, even if he had sins before this, before him saying the statement with that type of ikhlas and yaqeen. فإن هذا الإيمان وهذا الإخلاص وهذه التوبة وهذه المحبة وهذا اليقين لا تترك له ذنبا إلا محي عنه كما يمحو الليل النهار. So he said that verily this iman And this ikhlas, this sincerity, and this tawbah that he made, and this muhabba, this love for the obedience of Allah, for Allah and His Messenger, وهذا اليقين, and his certainty, لا تترك له ذنبا إلا محي. It doesn't leave any sin for him except that it just wipes it out. Wipes it out because of all that he did from good. محي عنه كما يمحو الليل, just like the night, just like يمحو الليل النهار, just like the day comes and what? It wipes out the darkness of the night. So as soon as the sun comes up, just wipes out that darkness. So just like that, and this yaqeen and certainty and tawbah and muhabba and everything that this person has in his chest, fulfilling those conditions of la ilaha illallah, they cause all of his sins to be wiped out. He said, فَإِذَا قَالَهَا عَلَى وَجْهِ الْكَمَالِ الْمَانِعْ مِنَ الشِّرْكِ الْأَكْبَرِ وَالْأَصْغَرِ فَهَذَا غَيْرٌ مُصِرٌ عَلَى ذَنْبٍ أَصْلٍ. He said, so if he said it like this, he said it, with the completion of all the conditions. He's fulfilled all the conditions of La ilaha ala wajh al-kamal. Al-mani' min al-shirk al-akbar wal-asghar. That means that when he says La ilaha illallah with this type of certainty, with this knowledge, and this with sincerity and this muhabba, that it keeps him away from all forms of shirk, whether they be major shirk or minor shirk. فَهَذَا غَيْرُ مُصِرٌ عَلَى ذَنْبٍ أَصْلٍ. And this person will never continue committing sins because he, again, the most despicable thing to him is the disobedience of Allah. So even if he falls into a sin, he'll be one of those people quick to make tawbah, quick to go and stop that action. Where the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith that we're going to take inshallah tomorrow in daily hadith, he said, لا يبلغ المؤمن من جحر واحد مرتين. Yeah, I think the hadith is in Abi Hurairah. So he said that a believer will not be stung from the same hole 2 times. He learns from it. Once he's stung from that hole and he knows that it's the danger, he'll never go back and get stung from that same. He makes tawbah and he keeps it going.
He's also to Abdul Malik. I remember you said that hadith to Abdul Malik.
Oh yeah.
He did something to her. I have a question. I bring it from the thing. If a parent becomes upset due to a minor disagreement unrelated to matters of religion with her child, even if the child is correct, does the child commit a sin in this scenario?
Again?
I have a question. If a parent becomes upset due to a minor disagreement unrelated to matters of religion with her child, even if the child is correct, does the child commit a sin in this scenario?
Yes. I mean, what's the issue? Like if the mother's doing something haram, or the father's doing something haram, and you're trying to give them the dalil, and they become upset with you because of that, and you did it in a nice way, and but they still become upset, that's a different issue, because if the person is not being, but he said not in the issues of deen.
Yeah.
So these are personal issues.
Something in the house.
Yeah, because that means, what did you upset your mother for? Because you're trying to go back and forth with her. You're trying to show that you're right. Just shut up. Just keep your mouth shut. I mean, they're your parents. Even if they're wrong, we're talking about dunyawi issues. We're not talking about deen issues. So sometimes, your mother might say something and she might be wrong. When she gets older, her memory is messed up. Say, okay, I'm sorry, I forgot. Sometimes akhi wallahi, just like my sister used to do something. And I knew that if my mother starts getting going, that it's going to be a long night. So she comes up and she says, who did this? I said, I did it. Just like me. I'm sorry, Mom. I apologize. I did this. This is like khalas, just to end it. To not even have to go through all this craziness. Because I know, like, if it starts to back and forth between them two, then it's gonna be like a ta'amatul kubra. So I mean, just like, dunya issues, just leave it. Why would you even go back and forth with your parents anyways?
I'm not certain, but maybe, because something happened to me. It's because it was at the college, like the GPA to join something was like 2.0. And I told my dad, I was like, the GPA is 2.0. He's like, no, it's not. I said, it is, look. He's like, no, it's not. Maybe that could have been the reason why the parent, because sometimes parents, they could be upset. But it goes on saying, the mother upsets because of the disagreement, something related to household.
Because you're not doing your chores. Yeah. Yeah, you're not doing, you didn't make your bed, or you didn't wash the dishes, or you didn't do that, so do what she tells you to do. If there's anything related to the household, it's because she's telling you don't do something and you do it. You don't think it's that important. Whatever she tells you to do, just do it, as long as it's not a disobedience to Allah. You know? SubhanAllah. I mean, if there's things that you know that your mother likes, then go do it before she even tells you to do it. That's even better. Do it before she tells you to do it. Any other questions? Alright, so Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We're on hadith number 989, page 240. You have no idea. You need a GPS just to find the chapter, don't you? 240. Me and Tim Waterway.
Is it وعن عقبة؟
Huh?
وعن عقبة؟
Yeah.
تمام. إن أحق الشروط تمام.
Alright, so قال الحافظ ابن حجر رحمه الله تعالى وعن عقبة بن عمرو ابن عامر رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن حق الشروط أن يوفى به ما استحللتم به الفروج متفق عليه. Alright, so this hadith on Uqba ibn Amr radiallahu anhu, he said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the conditions that have more, that the conditions that have the most right to be fulfilled are the conditions that were made in making the private parts halal. All right, because if a girl or the father of the girl or the mother of the girl sets certain conditions for the marriage, that these conditions have to be met or the marriage does not take place, then you agree to these conditions. And by agreeing to these conditions, then what? Now, you accept the conditions, you're given the mahar, so now she becomes halal for you. So you made this situation halal for you to go, and she's your wife now. So in this case, these conditions are the conditions where the Prophet ﷺ said that these conditions have the most right to be carried out. So here, and these types of conditions, there are two types. Alright, ينقسموا إلى قسمين. القسم الأول الشروط الموافقة لما في كتاب الله وسنة رسول الله. So here you have the conditions that are in agreement to what? Yeah, they're in agreement to what's in the Quran and what's in the Sunnah. So these conditions, no doubt, what? You have to fulfill them. You have to fulfill them. القسم الثاني الشروط مخالفة يعني شروط مخالفة للكتاب والسنة الصحيحة. Alright, now you got the ones that go, like certain conditions that go against the Quran and the authentic Sunnah. And these conditions, it is haram for you to fulfill these conditions. So in the first set of conditions, you absolutely have to fulfill them, because it was a condition of marriage. Now, what would something be like? What would be a condition?
A wali?
No, not that type of condition. Like if the woman says, all right, let's say that you're a student of knowledge, and then she wants to learn certain things from you. She says, okay, look, I will marry you, but you have to teach me this, and this, as a condition of the marriage. Not the mahar, as a condition. You have to teach me this.
Or take me for Umrah.
Or take me for Umrah. You have to take me to Hajj. And obviously if you have the means. If you don't have the means, then khalas. There's nothing binding on you. But if you have the means, whatever, these are conditions that if she places on you that are in line with the Quran and the Sunnah, they don't go against the Quran and the Sunnah, then what? Yeah, it's fine. Now if she says, I'm in college and I'll marry you, but under one condition. I have to finish college. Is it permissible now to marry her with this condition?
Yes.
No.
No. Because this condition goes against the Quran. If she's in a college, it's all girls with female teachers, there's no ikhtilat, there's no free mixing, then yes. In that case, it is permissible for you to fulfill that condition. But she's in Fresno State University, hanging out with frat boys in her class, and you're going to fulfill this condition with her. Is it permissible to fulfill this condition?
What if it's like President say, but only online? Like she's home all day. But
She still got to go take the exams.
no exams now, you can do it home.
If it's that, if that's the whole thing, but it depends on what is she studying.
Okay.
If she's studying engineering, that's one thing. She's studying philosophy, that's a whole other thing. So,
She's studying Deen.
yeah, obviously, if she's studying Dean at Fresno State University,
Not Fresno.
then you definitely did not allow her to fulfill that condition. And that condition is not halal. But what about okay, that's one condition, right? What about she has a job? And she says the condition of me getting married is, I got to keep my job.
This depends on what kind of job though.
She's got a job that's working in the office, bringing coffee to her boss.
Is your boss a man?
Probably more than likely. Let's just say that there's ikhtilat in the.
Oh, like no, obviously not.
You know any offices in America where it's all women? Maybe like an abortion clinic or something. But if she's working at an abortion clinic, then no, it's not permissible for her to work there anyway. So along this time.
Those women who would kill the baby and the woman.
So
Those abortion women.
she's participating in what they used to do in Jahiliyyah, so that's not permissible either. But or maybe like she's in some feminist. She's working in a feminist, I don't know, protest house or something. I don't know. but let's just say she's working in the office and she says, I want to keep my job.
Haram.
And you can't accept those conditions. And what if she says, well, I refuse to marry you unless you allow me to work?
Get out of here.
Well, you got to get out of there because it's her house, right?
Oh wait, her house or our house? Oh.
Yeah, well, is she coming to your house or you're going to her house? You're going to see her father, right?
Oh no, that's what I meant. Like,
So you're going to tell her to get out of her own house.
No, I didn't.
No,
I meant like
no.
I'll marry another one. Like get out of
Yeah,
here.
like ma'asalama. Have a nice day. Hope you find what you're looking for. And that's it. I'm out. All right, all right, here's another good one, right? What if she tells you, you know what's coming now?
Happy
What?
birthday? Is it a happy birthday?
No. What if she tells you, I'll marry you, but under one condition. You can't take a second wife.
Oh.
That's permissible, but
No.
Ibn Taymiyyah said it's permissible.
What?
They should make that short.
No.
According to Ibn
But that's
Taymiyyah,
against
that's
Quran and Sunnah.
no,
Yes, it is.
That's it.
it's haram.
Yeah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you a rukhsah to marry whoever you want. Now she's going to come and tell you, no, you can only marry me.
Polygamy is in Quran.
So there's a difference of opinion amongst the ulama. There is a difference of opinion. Shaykh al-Uthaymin, rahimahullah, he went with the opinion that no, if she makes that condition and you agree to that condition, then you have to fulfill that condition. And if I'm not mistaken, you can go back and check it. Shaykh Muqbil, rahimahullah, he was like, no. So like she doesn't have a right to tell you because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already given you permission to marry whoever you want, and that's not a condition that's in agreement with the Quran and the Sunnah. Now I kind of lean more towards Shaykh Uthaymeen with his understanding because you accepted the condition.
If you accept it.
Yeah, you married her with that acceptance of that condition. So I kind of lean more towards that.
Would it be? Just a quick question. Would it be not haram because she's not telling you, she's not forbidding you from something that's wajib? Like for example, she says, "Me and you, we could get married, but you just can't go eat at a certain restaurant for the rest of your life." Is it like that? Or
Well, she's making something halal
That's not.
that Allah made haram. She's making haram what Allah made halal for you.
would it be like not that, but like a man? Like I'm just
It
restricted.
depends on how you're looking at the situation, right? You're looking at the situation like this is her condition. You accept it. And I'm looking at it from the other aspect of her making something haram for you that Allah made halal for you. And you agreeing to that condition.
We're talking about the type of conditions.
I don't know. I was just looking at it as like a man, a blockage. Like I'm not saying it's haram. I'm saying like, fine, you want to marry me, no problem, but but you just can't take a second wife.
I mean,
Not like
the
saying-
thing is like right there alone, and that already shows you that her displeasure of an aspect of this religion. It was so important to the point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it in the Quran at the beginning of Surah An-Nisa. And called the Surah An-Nisa, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, and then you have this, you know, this rukhsa that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. And He didn't start with one. He started with mathna, wa thulatha, wa ruba'. And then He gave the one for what? فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَنْ لَا تَعْدِلُوا فَوَاحِدَةً أَوْ مَا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ. So, and that's that. I mean, so you see any of the Sahaba that had the ability to marry, they didn't just marry one. And the Prophet ﷺ, of course, is Sunnah khayra hadi Muhammad ﷺ. So, you know, you got ulama that look at it from that aspect of her trying to tell you that this is a Sunnah. And I don't want you to practice the Sunnah. You can practice anything else, but you can't practice this. So now she's displeased with something from the Sunnah.
Oh.
So then when you look at that, now why would you want to, you can already see problems on the horizon with this marriage if you're trying to go into this marriage thinking that she's going to accept the Quran and accept the Sunnah. No. But,
She already denied it.
yeah, she's rejected this aspect of it. And like, no, and why? She rejected it because of what? Because of, it's not deen. It's because of her hawa, her desires. She doesn't like it. You can't marry nobody but me. So no, I mean, I don't agree. I don't like that condition should never be made ever, and no man should ever agree to it. You know, Allah Mustaan.
I'm just, yeah, that's why. It just because there's obviously when I was just looking into it, and then I found out Ibn Taymiyyah said it. I was like, khalas. But then obviously I didn't hear like the other side.
Where did he say it?
I'd have to, inshallah, when I go on, I'll send it.
I know Ibn Taymiyyah said it. I don't know about but I'm not saying he didn't say it. I'm just saying I haven't come across that. But yeah.
Probably didn't read the whole chapter.
I read the whole chapter.
So I mean, yeah, because you see, he wants to put conditions. I mean, conditions like, okay, here's a good condition that a woman can place on a man. I'll marry you under one condition.
Can you say it again?
Yeah, I said, here's a good condition that a woman can place on a man. I'll marry you under one condition.
You pray in the masjid.
Oh, that's a good one too, but that's wajib. So I mean, he has to do that regardless. But I will marry you if you with the condition that you take me out of the bilad al-kufar and you set me up in a Muslim country. So now I live amongst the Muslims. That's a beautiful condition. Where are the women that want that condition? Why is it every woman wants the condition of what? You can only marry one woman.
They want Fresno State. They want Fresno State.
Or the woman that wants to stay in Fresno State, or the woman that wants to continue making coffee for her boss and then come home and she's too tired to make food for her family. So yeah, well, she can sit here and serve a kafir all day long and smile and everything, but she's too tired to come home and smile with her family and cook for her family. So it's McDonald's chicken nuggets every single night for the kids. No. Where, you know, so now the best conditions are the conditions, of course, that agree. I know this came in the hadith of Aisha, radiallahu anha, and when she said in the story of Barira, what was the story? Barira was a slave lady. She was trying to buy her freedom. So she went to Aisha and she told her about the situation, and Aisha said, I will do it as long as what? That she has the wala, which is the wala is what?
A guardian? A guardian?
It's like how can you explain that in English, man? Like when you're the one that freed the slave, right? The slave takes on like your name, your family name, and you inherit from you also become an inheritor from him or her or whatever, and that's the walaya. So it's like, so this person will be like, you know, take on the family name. So even like the slaves, like the servants of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, could he accept charity? No. So could his servants accept charity? No, because of that walaya, you know, that wala. So they weren't even, they were prevented from accepting charity just like he was prevented from accepting charity. So this is where like she said, okay, I'll do this, but as long as, you know, that she has the wala. And then this is the hadith called Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, amma ba'. Because what happened was, and then Buraira went to the family, and the family said, no, she can pay and she can free you, but the wala is for us. We keep the wala, like you go back to us. And then, and of course that's not right, because the Prophet ﷺ said, al-wala'u liman ish, liman a'taq. The person who frees, he's the one who gets the walaya. So he said, ما بال رجالا يشترطون شروطا ليست في كتاب الله ما كان من شرط ليس في كتاب الله فهو باطل وإن كان 100 شرط قضاء الله أحق وشرط الله أوثق إنما الولاء لمن أعتق. Alright, so he said, what's the situation with these people, these men, and they're making conditions that are not from the book of Allah. And he said, Ma kana min sharatin, and he said, whatever condition is made that's not from the book of Allah, fahuwa batil, then it's what? It's invalid. There's nothing, One kana miyat sharat, even if it's 100 conditions, even if they make 100 conditions like this, they're all invalid. Qada'ullahi what? Ahaq. Alright, so the judgments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are more worthy of us following and obeying. Wa sharatullahi awthaq. And the conditions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed is what? More stronger, the strongest conditions. إِنَّمَا الْوَلَاءُ لِمَنْ أَعْتَقَ. So that the wala is only for the person who frees the person. So if Aisha radiallahu anha paid the money, then who's going to free her? Aisha. So who gets the wala? Aisha. So this, but the shahid from using this hadith is about the conditions. That the conditions have to be what?
Islam.
Yeah, they have to be from the Quran and the Sunnah. That the woman cannot just come up with all these different conditions, that are not from the Quran and the Sunnah, or that go against the Quran and the Sunnah. Like for example, she wants like all right, I'll marry you, but you have to buy me like some flashy car that's going to draw a lot of attention to her. Again, that's haram. Because it's a woman, it's like you're setting the woman up for danger. Driving around America with a flashy car and a woman, and you're going to get robbed sooner or later. Something bad's about to happen to you. So all these types of conditions, no, they're not to be made. But the conditions that are legit, that are real, and if the person does not fulfill these conditions. Now, the girl can make the conditions, and the parents can make this. The wali, he can also say, okay, look, I will have one condition, and that's that let's say that the girl's from Yemen, and he tells you, I have one condition. You marry her and you take her back to Yemen. Now, is this, you obey this condition or no?
Yes.
Depending.
No, there's no depending. She's in America.
Oh.
And the father says you take her back to Yemen and you live with her in Yemen.
No, what I meant by Yemen, sometimes, where she won't get killed. That's what I meant.
No, I mean, what I'm saying is he wants her in a Muslim country.
Okay, yeah.
So he wants you to take her and marry her and take her back to a Muslim country. So no doubt you're going to fulfill this condition. Now, what if you can't go back to Yemen? What if something prevents you from going to Yemen? You speak to the father and say, well, does it have to be Yemen? Can it, negotiate the condition before you agree to the condition? Because if you agree to that condition, it has to be Yemen. It has to be Yemen. Like, for example, he tells you, okay, I'm going to give one condition, that you have to take her and when you marry her, you have to go live in Medina.
So hard.
Yeah, exactly. You understand? Like, this condition will be very, 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 very difficult. You know how difficult it's going to be for you either one, you're going to have to get into university. And then what if you're too old for the university or whatever? And then that doesn't mean that you can get your wife over there. To get your wife over there, then you're going to have to do that all on your own. And you're in the university. That means you're going to have to work. So there's just so many things that you got to look at these types of conditions, and before you agree to them, try to negotiate the contract, before you just think, before you just think with your desires and not think with your clear mind. You're thinking with your foggy mind. You're thinking like, okay, I'll agree to anything just to get a wife so I can, start, procreating. No, think about the future. Okay, think about the difficulties that this is gonna, have, So like for example, you might be from the south of Yemen, she might be from the north of Yemen. And the father says you gotta take her back to Yemen. Be like, well, sir, you're gonna have to be more specific. What do you mean take her back to Yemen? What part of Yemen? You know, she's got to live in the north. Well, I'm not from the north, and I don't want to live in the north. And she's gonna have to live in the north, then what? I'm not sitting up there molding America and all this type of stuff with the Houthis and no. So khalas, I'm not gonna agree to those conditions. But you have to, you know, discuss that. You have to discuss that with them. You know, but as far as like, you know, them making a condition, yeah, take her to a Muslim country, or she wants to study Islam, so take her to a place where there's like where they seek knowledge and things like that. Yeah, it's good conditions, very, very good conditions. Maybe she's in a tahfidh program. All right, she's in the actual program for memorization of the Quran. Let's say that she's finished half. So one of her conditions is what?
Complete.
Yeah, I'll marry you, but I want to finish. I have to complete the memorization of the Quran. Are you that stupid to say no? I want you in the house cooking chicken. No. And I'll be patient eating ramen noodles and Indomie for like 6-8 months, and while she finishes the Quran. You have a wife now that memorized the Quran, is going to teach your children that. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. Let her finish. As long as her teacher's a woman. Yeah, if her teachers are like, Ahmed and Saleh and Zayd, then no. And that's, you're going to have to find another markaz to study in. Any questions here?
Afwan Ustad, what if the condition you can have another wife after at least 10 years alone with me? That was the question.
It's like she's got 10 years to like mess you up so you can't get another wife or what?
What is it?
Second question. Assalamu alaikum, Ustad.
I mean, I look at that. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. I look at that condition of the person saying, the girl saying, you can have a second wife 10 years later. I look at that as the woman saying, you can't marry a second wife. I mean, it's the same. It's
Basic.
yeah. If I want to, I can get married the next week. So, for a woman to tell you that you can't.
Hoping you will change your mind in 10 years. Get on that.
Honestly, Akhi, in this day and age, man, if you want, I mean, like, even for me, I don't want a second wife, Akhi. It's too much of a headache, man. One is too much of a headache. These women nowadays, oh my God, Akhi. You just like, well, you're just adding to your own early death, man. You just keep, subhanAllah.
But the ratio is 1 to 8 now in the world.
Yeah, and like half of those 8 are crazy. So it's just like, you're not dealing with the type of, see, the women in the past, they used to mature, so, she's like 12 years old, 13 years old, and she's already taking on all these responsibilities of the house. These girls nowadays can't even make bread, Akhi. Can't make tea properly. There's so many things that they got to start learning, when they're about to get married, because they don't even know how to do anything, Akhi. They don't know how to do anything. So they need a maid to come and clean, and somebody else can't change a light bulb. Somebody's got to do that for them. Nah, man, this like seriously. It's almost to the point where almost being single is better than being married sometimes. But almost time, but you gotta get married.
Second question was,
you get married to a girl from the village. She might have feet that look like Shrek's, but at least she's a loyal. She takes care of business, man, in the house. And we used to joke around with those girls in the village, boy, you could put a quarter in her foot, man. The feet are so cracked up that it looks like a slot machine where you put the money in. Yeah, man. You didn't live in no village, you're spoiled.
Were there any women from the Salaf who were not married? Or who were never married?
Pretty sure there were. I mean, and there are men from the Salaf. I mean, there's Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah never got married.
I think
Imam Ahmed didn't get married, I think, until he was like 49. He was so busy with knowledge, and then, of course, all the fitna and everything that was going on. Yeah, he didn't get married until He was in his late 40s, if not 49, somewhere up in his late 40s. So.
I think this is the last one.
Female.
I step off for a minute. What is wala? What is wala?
And the wala is the person, like I said, it's like you become like a family, like almost similar to a family member. So you like if you freed the person, you actually inherit from that person, and that person takes on your family name. And that's why you see like Nafi'. What did they say? Nafi', what? Mawla ibn Umar. Nafi', Mawla, because he was the one who freed him. So whenever you see that Mawla ibn, Mawla Fulan, it goes back to the person who freed him. So he takes on the family name of that person. And he also, like I said, they inherit. So, for example, if the man, he freed the slave, and there's nobody inherit from him. Like, no, he didn't have any children, he didn't, or his wife died, and he's got nobody left to inherit from him. Who's going to inherit from him? Yeah, exactly. Because he's he's considered part of the family now. Because he freed him. Yeah, he freed him. It doesn't have to be his. He freed that person. It could have been somebody else. Like in this case, Aisha, radiallahu anha, she freed Barira. Barira was owned by somebody else. So she freed her. And then, and there's another issue that's going to come up in the marriage about Barira also, which is going to be the issue of, because she got her freedom, and she was married previously. So now she has a choice of what? Keeping her husband or canceling the contract. So this issue is going to come up in later, inshallah. And below Ramadan, this is going to come up, inshallah. Any other questions? Huh?
أمهم قالت مش الولية وما أدري إيش مش الولية.
No, we just talked about that.
The last question. The last one. So women in the West should stay single.
No, women in the West should follow the Quran and the Sunnah and take on the mannerisms of the women of the past and protect themselves and not fall into this Western culture. Because this Western culture, these kuffar, they use the women. And the main thing that they want to destroy is the women. By destroying the women, they destroy the men. They couldn't destroy the men coming at us directly telling us, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. But they destroy the women. And then the women, in turn, destroy us. So the women that want good, you go back and learn the Quran and the Sunnah. And, you have the best examples. Well, I mean, what do you want? These kafirat, these fasiqat, these examples that you see on social media, these women that are running around naked and, and showing themselves to every single man. What type of example do you want? You want the example of that? Or you want the example of Aisha, Salama, Zainab? What examples do you want? Fatima, radiallahu anhum. What type of example do you want to follow? So you go back and learn how the women were in the past, how they were. And that's what you do. And then inshallah, khalas. And then for the men too. Because if a man wants a sahabiyah, then he needs to be what? A sahabi. He can't sit there and talk about like, I want this in a woman and I want this in a woman, but he's a loser. No, he's got to do the same. All of us have to work towards that. That's not just for the men, that's for everybody. Wallahu musta'an. Sorry, we got to end this because it's time for salah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.